what you just do is just click one and then you just delete it. More options to see. Go ahead and see, since the water's over here, it's going to be cheapest to put it over there. It's also the easiest to see. You have a heat map up. Best way to get 8 milliwatts over there. So let me go ahead and get a highway. Now the real bad thing about a highway is that it costs a lot of money to maintain and to build too. So what I normally do is I just, just create a simple road first. I mean, it's nice that you can build a highway, so more power to you and shit. But if you create a simple road first, it's somehow not then it's not gonna need it. If you create a simple road first, then it's a lot cheaper to maintain. Simply because, well, so it's always easiest just to walk by that curve and I just like to build relatively straight for the coast. That way when I put one of these babies up, I don't have to go very far. Things to build. Okay, I adjust my volume settings. Excuse me. So as you see, the river runs this way, so you want fresh water from that source and you want to dump your waste into the other one. Connect here, you want this, it's just his cousin. Everyone has water. Now the easiest way to make power is, you see, this is actually in the power already. So we link this guy, boom, he has power. But you see there's no power over here, so what I like to do is just make one here. And this is also the first place that you'll district. So you zoom in, you can see the places we can district. They'll be the first to build a house, they'll be the second. Now if you actually come over here and monitor the sources, well, you can't see it now, but because I have the game paused, but once that goes up, we should be getting 8 milliwatts of power. There you go, 7 milliwatts of power. Now you see we don't need any milliwatts of powder. And I don't know how people are tweeting because no one's actually moved in yet, but that's regardless. So since we don't need a lot of power, we can actually just tone it down and save money on that end. So instead of spending $200, we'll actually be spending, what the hell? A lot less than 200. Somehow my sewage is offline. That's definitely cool. I mean, it's gonna back up soon. Also awesome. And this guy actually was really cool and built out of my zone. So now I have to add another one. I'm just gonna... This should be getting power. I don't really know what's wrong with this. I have to say about this problem a lot. I think it has something to do with the line. The sewage line, so... let's just pause the game before you do anything dumb. My sewage treatment is still at 0, so that's definitely cool. Maybe that's because no one's using it, but regardless, you can just go ahead and take the. We don't need that much pumping power to begin with. And you'll know if there's a problem because the citizens will complain. There'll be little pop-up bubbles above their heads. So if you look, they're now in the actual power, so that's good because obviously you need power to build a city. So since we have a lot of money, new people means jobs, believe it or not. So people are going to start looking for jobs. So we'll go ahead and we can make we can make a route. See, the object is not to make it too far because then people will, honestly, I don't know, but it just doesn't look pretty, so I don't like to. And you also don't want to paint your city. That person, they needed water. You got water. There we go. See how high that is? We pause the game. We come over. We're actually spending way too much money. So even though it's at 60%, we unpause the game. We want to see this drop into the yellow range. Keep the pumping capacity above the water consumption. As you can see, we're pumping 43k, meters cubed a week, but we only need 500 meters. So for the time being, running at the budget at 50% will actually cost us significantly less. I mean, we're only paying 300 as opposed to 1,000, and the same thing for our electricity. See, we actually don't need any right now because I guess these guys are living off the land or some shit, but we can drop that down. See, now we're only producing 5, so we're already saving like maybe $100, $500. Now our income's only $20. That's because everyone's cheap, but as you can see over here, there's now a demand for the little meter on here. So it tells you what there's demand for. So we go ahead and we start building houses like this. Now the object to build zones like these are specifically to cater to specific needs. Density like this is really just excuse me. It can be noisy, it can lower land value, and that's not really what you're looking for in a city, because unless they're forced to, no one really wants to live in a place that is noisy as shit. Especially if you have a really nice house and you want to keep the land value up. So making a city like this instead of straight grids, connecting them on the 2 lines, will actually help in the later time because it will assist in emergency services. See how ugly that looks? But regardless if it's ugly or not, and we can actually see the noise pollution. Oh, I guess not. You can see the pollution that it causes. See, we already have some people building over there. And believe it or not, they're going to be building outside of my capacity. Thank you for that, sir. So we can just make a really rough run. I think that should be that should be in the system. So when they're building, once you see the lines go blue, that means that the systems are connected. That was my fault for doing that. Simply, I wasn't paying attention, obviously. We're still pumping way too much, but that's literally as low we can go. We have to turn the pump off, and we don't want that because if your sewage is backing up, you're generally not a happy person. Oh, I'm also pausing the game. Oops. I'm also going to not be using the hotkeys because they're a lot faster than clicking. One, I don't know them, and 2, it's a lot easier to see what I'm doing, to learn from it. Excuse me. If you see what I'm clicking, where I'm going, as opposed to me just clicking magic buttons that do things. Alright, so we got right there. One thing I forgot in this area is actually sewage. Kind of a big deal to some people. Those pesky kids wanting to poop to flush. So that will complete the line. And we said we have a really high need for commercial. And what's really nice is that if you take that high need for commercial and build a nice highway. This is an absolutely disgusting highway, but my pop-up has actually disappeared, showing how much it's going to cost me. So I'm just gonna build one. There we go. Like this. And like this. And we'll go ahead and we'll upgrade the middle. Just so it can support that amount of traffic. Now, these are cost more, absolutely, but later in life you don't want to build stuff around there and then have it unsupported because that's really expensive. Because then if you destroy or you're forced to destroy a anything really, that's lost revenue, and that's really not what you want. So we'll make these even, and then this is about far enough that I want, because I'm gonna have to run sewer and electricity over here anyways, and the budget is going to be tight to create a zone. Yes, I understand that. So from here, well, I want to connect the two at the same one just to keep that real tight. And the real nice thing about creating a zone is that once you get the revenue from it, you could just dump it. No one's gonna cry. And if they do cry, their cries are really silent. And, a lot of people enjoy making those. They enjoy coal plants and whatnot. I don't really like coal plants simply because they're really polluting, and it's really something that actually takes a lot of time to fix, as opposed to just as opposed to just something like windmills. With the windmill, I only get 8 milliwatts of power, but at the same time, you can manipulate your power, so you're not using that much, and you can see that you're not using much of anything. I'm using $80 worth of power a month, and while my income is low, once I start, as you see, my commercial need is incredibly high. So now we just go ahead and just boom. We can make all of this commercial right here, and I like to start in the corners because it's the cheapest to start power. I put power right here. I'll erase this and over here. And now when I go ahead and restart the game, the first people will build right here on it because, well, they want to, because it's the only place they can. And then once they start building there, I will actually be able to. Actually, we can erase this. We have a little need for this, so we can just go ahead and finish it. Once people start building, excuse me. Once people start building, then you can expand it, because there we go. See, they started building right there, and now we look, you see the power grid has extended over here now. So the more people build, the more power comes out, you see. So now we can actually go ahead and create, see, we got another one here that will expand the power grid outwards. So it's actually just a really cheap way to keep your power going. The only thing you have to keep in mind is, of course, if I rezone that entire area, it won't have any power, simply because using buildings to create grids will actually help or hurt you if you decide to demolish an entire city, which kind of makes sense because you're demolishing an entire city. That's neither here nor there. And our first milestone, we're actually aiming for 300 people, 400 people, and we unlock more features such as loans and stuff like that. I'll start naming cities. I always want to keep an eye on this. You see, we're just above where we want to be. We're using 2, making 3. That's what we want. And over here, we're still, insanely efficient, which is always good. Maybe too good, because that's money that could be back in my pocket. Now we're actually starting to reverse now. See, we're getting $20, $16 is actually what we're losing, as opposed to 300. We gained 6 people, but now, for some reason, people want to move here. So we go ahead, we create that. Check the power, so they'll build along the power lines, and if they don't, I will kill them. We can dump this because now you can see that they're connected, and that actually creates more building space. See, we already got people building, expands my grid out. And once people actually build here, then we can knock these down if I want to. I don't really want to right now, but That's absolutely an option. Now I see that we actually hit 3 for 3. We're gonna go ahead and increase the little budget just a bit because once it goes dips down, then that would be bad. Now the nice thing about creating the first area is that this area is more than likely to be the most profitable. It will be the most expensive land to build, usually because it's so residential, it's so low industrial. I'll eventually demolish this and create this as one big district. And you can see we're actually ducking down. We're going to start to be consuming 4 very, very soon. So you always want to be ahead of the curve. It's best to prevent blackouts because a blackout will absolutely. So we go over 4 for 4. Hour 3, excuse me. Hour 4. So a blackout will turn people away because, you know, if a city can't keep its damn power on, then why do I want to live in a city like that? And, you know, I could connect this, but I don't want to because I don't, and I don't want to talk about it. And there we go. We have a high need for commercial now, so now we can expand it. As long as someone doesn't start building there, we'll be fine. You check the power. The one right next to it is good too. I see we've actually we have a low demand for people, so we don't have to create jobs now. We can wait until it's a medium demand, then we can just make a new block. And something I forgot to mention actually is that well, first I have this on 3 times, so that's why I think it's going very fast. But generally corners such as this area and this area, maybe even this area, you want to go ahead and save those, not build on those. That's why I have it built right here, even though it's directly underneath my power line. And of course, you know, get the most power out of it. You want to save those for utilities that come later in the game, like, you know, the firefighter, the police, the medics, even the trash people, because those will actually have the most routes, direct routes to places. Like, I'll eventually knock this down, connect this to this, and if I put a fire department or a police department here, then they'll actually have, very highly ease of access to that area, especially because industrial, which you'll see once I unlock the fire department, the industrial always has a much higher chance of fires because excuse me, they're industrial as opposed to residential, which have usually lower, and you can always, you know, put policies in there to affect them. See, now we're getting a little high here, a little high there. They're starting to build out. So I'll save these spots later for what I said about the, you know, the buildings and such. But now we're starting to need people a lot. So I'll make this whole block, you know, center blocks are good for just creating buildings originally. I'll probably knock these guys down. You know, I'm just going to take them out right now. Hasta la vista. Simply because of what I said beforehand, you know, this right here, this is actually really good to build, because I could build someone, you know, police department here or a school here, and it will service the entire town around it. That's what I mean to say. Now we'll go ahead and we'll pause the game. We're good for water. Let's check power. Oh, we're a little suffer on power. Now it's always cheaper to raise your budget rather than to build more. See, now we're at 6. That's good. But keep in mind, this is out of 7 or 8. So once we start getting to, you know, 7 milliwatts consumed, we're going to have to build a new tower, a new windmill, because, you know, well, you can't generate more than 8. So now we're at 6 for 6. Let's go ahead and raise that. You also have to keep your budget in mind. You see, I'm pulling $500 a week, $500 a week, but, you know, a new windmill costs $6 grand. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. So now we're pulling 8, but I want it high because I'm actually going to create another building now. These aren't really good for creating public services, because since they're in the middle, they only have access to one roadway as opposed to putting them here. You know, if I put you here, you have access to this way, this way, and this way, as opposed to if I put you in the middle, you only have access to 2 ways. Or if I put you right here, you only have access to 2 ways. You know, that's why you want to keep intersections and routes such as this. You know, this right here, it only has 2 ways, but this street accesses this one. I could connect it over here. I could put it right here, have the same service for industrial, residential, and then go down here and get commercial. So I have a high route again, a high need. We'll go ahead and make this right here. Now you always want to expand while you can. Excuse me. While you have, you know, the area to. because if I had built something right there, it would be much harder to expand. Oh, there we go. We unlocked this. We got taxes, loans, look at the garbage, healthcare, education, people, landfill, elementary school, med clinic. Um, so what I'm actually building right now, obviously, are streets. I'm sure you can tell that because you have eyes. Hopefully, at least people need power. And see, I got a nice little boost from that. I make another one over here. It'll connect to my power grid, and now I can actually. You see, I'm running at $117, but that's going to go up because I just made a new grid. But if you watch my electricity, it should double, or more or less. It should go up significantly. So my grid's online now, and now I'm making 16. Well, why? Well, because I had the same amount of budget, but I also, doubled the capacity of it. So now we go ahead and watch it. It'll start to come down. 11, much more tolerable. I'm pausing the game in case you don't know. You can see that we have a low need for commercial. We have some, a medium for commercial, low for industrial, medium for residential. But I can also create garbage. Now, once you have the ability to create garbage, or I should say, not create, but to, what's the word I'm looking for? To purchase garbage, people are going to start to want it. That's really just what it is. So I'm going to demolish these two real quick. I have the game paused. I want to make it around like that. Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm really not sorry, guys. I lied. Now you see, since I made these residential streets, I can't upgrade them without demolishing the building because it actually takes a square away. That's just the cost of life. If I rezone that later on, then that's what it is. So since I'm actually going to keep this right here, I'm not going to zone this residential because of the pollution, but I will go ahead and create a dump because everyone likes to take a good dump. And see, that will actually connect my power grid simply because of that. And I haven't unlocked districts yet. Once I hit 800, districts are really entertaining simply because you can better control population, better control policies, stuff like that, stuff that you don't really think about when you're just coming up. But this isn't my first city, and I really know what the people want, what the people need, what makes me happy, Sets them free. Now, see, this is a really good spot because of this, but there can be better spots, such as really any of this and over here, any of this. If I put, police station like right here or a fire department right here, let me pause the game. They'll have access to all of these as opposed to just this. That's why it's okay to, fill it in on the inside blocks like this, because, well, you can do whatever you want there. It won't really have that much impact around the places around it because, unless it was a park, it wouldn't really affect them. If I put something here, over here it won't have much of an impact as it will over here. But if I put something here, it can have an impact over a much greater area. Unfortunately, I'm actually going to build a road right here because I have all of this unused right here. I'm sorry about your house. Buy you a new one. We come over here. And we don't want to do it too close because most people actually don't want to live by a water treatment plant. So, just keep that in mind. That's generally undesirable for some reason. I can't seem to think of a reason. Maybe you guys can. Sorry about your house. And you can see you have actually a lot of unused space right here. And the best cause for that is you just go ahead. It's not the most efficient. You can see I'm overlapping a lot, and those people won't be happy because if you look at the squares, they actually overlap a lot. But I used a lot more unused space. I gained that back, and that's really what I want, especially because, click this. You see, I have a lot of opportunity right here, and you just don't want the unused space to go there. Now, later in the game, houses that are really close together, that are too busy, too noisy, they will lose value. But right now, it's okay to do this because you can eventually knock them down, create them nicer. This always has the possibility of being, like a full dollar or whatever current they use um, per meter, which is insane. I'm sorry, per square meter, which is absolutely insane. It's just something that, of course, you want to aspire to, because it's on pause the game. The more uh, the more expensive the land is per acre, the more you can be okay with just demolishing something. And I'm not looking for this. Just demolishing something just to, create a school there, because it'll add value to the land. Yeah, see, so everyone's building, everything's going just fine. We're getting, we're getting a good amount of money, 650. We're gonna have to raise it soon. We're still pumping well above what we need, and keep in mind that we're pumping this much money with literally half the budget. We literally half of the budget, and we're not even running 400%. So what I usually do is I actually aspire to have a relatively green city. I like to, simply for the pollution. These create a lot of noise, absolutely. But if you can hold them out until you get those hydroelectric plants, or I would never use a dam, but I'd like to at some point, because we have the nice beautiful river, and we can get some. We get a good dam going up here. But I usually aspire for nuclear energy. You have to clean. It's very noisy. It's very wasteful, but you can just stick it in a district, and they can power a whole city. A whole city. It's like 1,300 megawatts, and that's really something that's insane. And it's actually over here. Yes, power out for 640 megawatts. That's absolutely ridiculous. You're really not gonna get that much for 200,000. That's for such clean energy is really great. Now we have a high need. I'll pause the game. We have a high need. We got high demand for residential. And that's great, because I just created a new district over here. Keep these, as I said, for the police force, the hospital, all of that good stuff. And I'm going to actually institute one very soon. I just need to create more foundation, more infrastructure. So the nice thing about if you're creating grids, the grid is always nice. See, I have very little space there. I have very little waste. So if I create this grid, you see I have more waste over here, where it's off of a slope over here. I have all of these things that just won't be filled in. But if I actually just create a grid, I can maximize the amount of people, the amount of places that can be there. And then, your mother's sister's cousin, look at that, I just created it into the suburb area. And now since the people are here, I can actually eventually, I can upgrade all this right here into a much, much larger, a much more serious area. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to limit yourself. So I get that high traffic area going. You don't want to limit yourself to. Now that I have more money, I'm doing this, obviously. To what you stuck yourself in. Really, let's unpause the game. So now you can see these will go down or up. I always like to create more commercial areas, because people want to buy goods. The commercial areas cause a lot of pollution. They're more prone to fire. They need lower educated workers. The commercial areas fulfill that need for low educated workers. But later in the game, when you start getting colleges going, when you start putting schools out, and you can actually see right here, everything is in red. They have 150 people eligible, but nothing is supporting that service. So if I click over here, these people right here, they're very sick. The average house is negative 53. We actually have 1 sick citizen. So if we create something like that, if we need that service, I don't even know where I was going with that, but industrial. The thing about industrial is that they don't like educated workers, and I like educating the city, because it creates a much more valuable city, because people want smart workers, offices, high density commercial. We actually had a power outage. I'm going to raise the budget a little bit. And keep in mind that your night budget should be less than for power, should be less than your day budget. People will obviously use less power at night, because people aren't there. Yes, I understand. I have a school. I have a waste. The thing about schools is that as soon as you start one, people are going to want to keep continuing. For some reason, they want to continue their education. I don't understand that. You just got to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. All that good stuff. Yeah, I understand. Thank you. It'll keep reminding me that since I have money now. Um, if I keep my people healthy, I can keep them, working. That's always what you want. Now you see, everything that turns green is where this will service. So obviously you want more green areas, and so that's really where you can maximize your service. And you can tell if I stuck someone like right here, that's really good. If I stuck them right here, I can also access the industrial area. If I stuck them over here, I mean, look at that. I can get the whole highway. Most of that 6 lane over there. So it really helps just to have those freed intersections up. I won't be losing any revenue sticking them there. It would actually really help if I upgraded. If I upgraded this or any of these right here to a 6 lane. Excuse me. That would actually greatly benefit transportation. Obviously, because you have a much bigger area to supply to. I want to make sure that most of this resident is. I'm just gonna have to apologize ahead of time. I didn't mean to destroy your home and livelihood, but I'm going to have to. It's for the good colony. I'm sure you'll understand. Now that's going to be lost revenue, so you're going to see that as soon as I unpause the game, you will see a large amount of lost revenue. But so it's on 3. I went down already. Looks like I'm going down 100, 200, and that's just because of the amount of people that I lost in that. It's really nothing to be too worried about. Of course, once you institute a service, you can expect, especially on the budget, everything's going to be at 100. You can expect to start losing money instantly until you eventually will turn around. The spending will slow. Let's go ahead and look at the. Always pause the game. Excuse me. While I'm looking at the budget, because if it's something that you can fix, it's something you want to fix. I'm actually going to keep my power the same. My power only went down because those residents lost their homes. I'm real sorry about that. You can think about it in the next election. So we'll go ahead. We'll create another one. Actually, there's low demand for citizens, so we're going to go ahead and keep them in the dark. What I do have a demand for is industry. It's really not that complicated. It's literally business 495 in Cal Poly Pomona. With, of course, the twist is that you're running a city, which of course is a business in itself, but it's not that hard to focus on. I don't want this to be there. So I'm making $500 less than I was, and it will continue to sink. We will see the citizen people. They will be dropping because, well, I kicked a lot of people out of their house. That usually happens when you evict people. People leave the city. Now I'm going up, and you see my revenue is going up as well. Down here you can see it, the revenue, the population. They're both going up. That's what you want to see in a city. The more people that come in. Over here you have how close I am to my target of 800 people. That's what you want to see in a city. And once it starts dipping down again, what goes to 30 again, that's usually when you need to create a new industry, be it more. I see my electricity is jumping up. Be it more commercial, more industrial. You want to create a demand in your city. You want to keep that demand going, because if you don't have a demand, then people will not want to move there. If there is no place to live, then people won't want to move there. I'll keep that going. But that's just really, how places are. Keep the demand high, the service is running high, and I'll have to upgrade this a little bit. Once your electricity starts going this high, you may really want to consider, I'm already at, let's pause the game, I'm already at over 112% on efficiency. So obviously the more money you put into something, the more efficient it becomes. But there's always going to be a peak, and if you look over here, electricity production, I only have 2. And each of those is only supposed to produce, something like 8 milliwatts or something, or 8 megawatts. I'm sorry, milliwatts. It's like a battery. Regardless, once I start getting over, to the max capacity of each of these, which you can see right here is 0 to 8. So I should really be thinking about upgrading soon. Just adding another turbine. I keep them centralized in a place that is undesirable, specifically because you're only going to lower the desirability of that area that's already undesirable. You can see the pollution over here. That's not over here. So if I keep the pollution next to the pollution, you see I didn't zone. I think about this a lot, by the way. So I didn't zone people to live here so that people won't get sick. I mean, no one really wants to work across from a dump, but you got to do what you got to do to bring that money home. The kids got to eat, We got low demand for both now, so we can really just sit on this. I want people to move in, so I'm not gonna sit on it for too long. I want to continue the demand, and since I know for a fact that it's cheap over here, as soon as you make it, people are gonna want to build in. That's just really what it is. And if we look over here, we can see that I actually don't need this anymore. And doing that, it freed up areas already that were previously unattainable to move in. I'm still going good on both of those. I'm gonna go ahead and create another one. Now, keep in mind, so I'm at 26 now. I'm all the way in the green. That means I'm losing money there. And that's really not what you don't want to do that. So we'll go ahead and lower the budget, repause the game. Better, much better. You see, I brought that down. I saved, I didn't even look. It was maybe $300 I'll say modestly, that I saved per week. And I'm still raking in $1,500 a week. Alright, so we got districts, which I'm really looking forward to. We got policies, second loans. We actually, I always aim to create a city that has no loans. We have no debts of such. We can go district specialization service policy. We actually got the cops, fire department. Now we can monitor power usage, water usage, and smoke detectors, which we can do that for districts. So now I'm going to pause the game real quick. We're going to go ahead and make a district right now. It's always best to do districts as to what they are. So this right here is a city district. It's residential, Spruce District. Nice job, Spruce. Over here, this will be the commercial right there. Over here, we have the industry. We'll include that. We don't need to come out this far. Now keep in mind, we're actually doing this with very limited resources. If you look the whole square of the map, this is actually all we have, and we've already hit 800 people in just this section. No, that's not a particularly dense section, and you have to keep in mind that as the more people come in, the more the population will get dense. And of course, if the population gets very dense, then you're going to have a lot of things that happen at the same time. You're going to need a much bigger hospital, stuff like that, because if you have 1,000 people living in a square block, which you will later in the game, much later, people get sick a lot sooner. But now the benefit is that we can actually create a policy for this people, and if we, this is essentially, educating people how to use, save power, how to save water, how to prevent smoke fires by giving them free smoke detectors. And that's always very, very good, because it costs money per building, but of course it lowers the risk of fire. And you can see over here, everything that's red has a very high risk of fire. So if I actually put my guy right here, now I want you to look at how much his service is. I service both districts, just like this. And I service the whole town simply by doing that. And we'll come over here. Keep in mind, we always need the most fire. And if we come over here, we'll actually educate them on how to not get your house on fire, as well as these. Now, if you watch, the money should go down a bit. As what I said, if you create a new service, that would be both those 3 policies as well as the fire department. I'm going to start losing money, and that's expected. We'll actually speed it up, see how much money I'm losing, and now my people are going down. You see, I actually lost 15 people per week because of that. So, well, it wasn't because of that. That was simply because I don't have enough people to bring in. You know, once people move in, they don't need to move in again. So I actually created a demand higher than what I had. I don't know why it selects this default. We're still good on the water treatment, which is good, running at 50%. We're getting a demand for commercial. So we'll go ahead and we'll fulfill that demand. I want to go ahead and I want to keep them on this district. As you saw right here, as we can see, pause the game for you guys. This is actually where we had the most. We don't have any coverage, very low coverage over here, very low coverage over here. So the towns over, the places over here have much higher chance of course, catching fire. I don't know why I didn't do this before, but this is actually a much smaller than it needs to be. I'm sorry, but this has to happen. Oh, I guess I can't because of the ones that connect to it. So. And you see, this is what I'm talking about right here. So I pause the game. I'm zooming out so you stop hearing all that stupid shit. But if I upgrade this road here, I'll actually destroy my hospital, which is something that you don't want. See, if I upgrade these over here, I only destroy the homes. Now, homes are okay because you can get the revenue back. But if you lose a hospital, that was $10,000 right there. I would essentially poop out. So let's continue to see where we're going. We're losing a lot of money now, and pause the game. We can look at our expenses. Our biggest expenses are roads. There's not much you can do about that. You really have to eat that, because creating roads like that creates, well, expenses. That's just what it is. You can see that little fireman hat right here. We're actually spending $480 on that, so we can go ahead and reduce that service. What will happen to this is that we actually won't service as many roads. As you can see, we service a lot less roads, but we save money on that. And I'm tanking right now. But you can also rely on policies that were previously instituted. And you always want a district when you excuse me, when you are paused. Otherwise, you'll start building. So if you accidentally mess up, people move into that screw up of yours, and that'll cost you money. And as I was saying, that even though obviously I'm losing money right now, we want to continue to build, because yes, you're losing money. Yes, that's bad. It's very bad. But if you do not increase your capacity, then you will not increase your revenue. It's really simple as that. Oh, we don't have anything. And of course, I pause the game. I build them close to each other first, so that I don't actually have to expand my. This music's very loud. I don't actually have to expand my electricity via towers. I can do building a building, like I said before. Unpause the game. We're still at triple rate. I'm losing mucho money right now, so we'll just continue to build. That's really all you can do, is just continue to build. You don't want to cut too many services. You can see our people are kind of bottoming out, and then we go back up and we go back down. So it's really just about keeping people here. That's really what you want. It's just keeping people in town. And I'm actually going to have to cut off a policy. We have water spare, so I'll cut that one out. Unpause the game. There we go. We just saved $100. $100 per week, $200 per week. And people are moving in. That's what you want to see. Look over here. We have our sewage treatment plant. Well, it sounds fine. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait a second. Now we can see people are starting to burglarize the area. The fun thing about being a video game is that your problems go away if your buildings go away. Oops. I actually don't have enough money to solve that. So sadly enough, I'm actually going to take a loan to... You know what? I'm not going to take a loan. Our money's flipping slowly. Um, so I'm gonna chance it and just not take it right now. Oh, our budget needs to be adjusted finally after a very long time. We're not servicing enough people with water. There we go. All that happened. As you can see, crime is now rampant because there's no police. Help. And that's actually something that I'll take a loan for. Just 60,000, something that my father would give me. It's not a lot of money. Um, and the same thing here. You want a place that is nice and well connected. A place that will service all industries. And actually, if I build a 6-lane highway connecting here, I think that will actually benefit that area, not as much as I'd like. That's good enough. Just build it right there. Now, of course, this is at 100% what you saw. That's if... Ooh, my power. That's if the... There we go. That's if you run it 100%. I'll go ahead. I'm going to wrap this up in about 10 minutes. Oh, look at that. I'm going to wrap it up now. We unlocked it. I'll save this for the next stream. We actually got new policies for each town. Pet ban, smoking ban, parks and recs. We got the high school. We want to keep those guys nice and dumb. We'll go ahead. We'll save it. We'll call this Streamtown. Just for you guys, I guess. And I'll see you guys later.